Hello, everybody. I'm Paul Ryden. Childhoods come in all varieties, happy ones, troubled ones, traumatic ones, and your family of origin can either be the thing that propels you to future happiness or it can be the thing that holds you back from ever accomplishing anything. A tragic childhood can be an excuse for all your troubles, or as in the case of our guest today, it can be overcome to achieve more than you could ever have imagined. We're joined today by Patricia Stroberg, coming to us from Southern California. Her book is entitled Because I Knew You Were Mine, a memoir of forgiveness. Patricia, so good to have you with us today.
Thank you.
Um, okay, where do we even begin with your story? Born in 1940, your father leaves for World War II. Your mother is too unstable emotionally to raise you properly and abandons you. You're taken in by family and caregivers. And out of that tough beginning, you craft an amazing success story. How did that healing start?
Well, thank goodness I was taken in by my dad's sister, Aunt Gertrude. She she was like being like with my father, and she raised me with wonderful, wonderful care. She was the mother I really needed,
Right.
and she added some backbone to my life and some principles.
hmm
She was a
Like,
wonderful woman, as my dad was a wonderful man.
well, forgiveness is part of your title, so obviously it had a great deal to do with where you are now. How did forgiveness play into your success?
Well, my mother abandoned me so often.
hmm
When I was 10, I tried to kill myself. I was so unhappy. And I
Literally, you
couldn't.
tried to kill yourself when you were 10?
Well, you can't. This is 1950.
Right.
So there's not a lot of things like we have now that you could kill yourself with. So I lived on the second floor. My bedroom was on the second floor. I thought, well, I'll jump out the window and hit my head and die, and I'll be out of this life. I'll be gone.
Wow.
Yeah, so I rolled up the window, the casement window. I had my legs out, and I thought, okay, is there anything I've forgotten? Anything at all? Yeah, what if you don't die? Holy
Mm.
crap, what if I don't die? So I came back in. I thought, I got to rethink this whole thing. I had already thought I couldn't do rat poison, I couldn't do bleach, so it was
Yeah.
too painful. So
Yeah.
your mom caring for you.
That sounds terrible.
So
Well,
anyway, but then my dad meanwhile built a house. He was always in construction, and we moved in. We weren't there very long, like 3 4 months, I think. And my mother took my brother and left. My brother's 2 now, and I'm 11.
mhm.
And we left. She left. She just left.
You had
Didn't
no
say
idea
goodbye.
where
Didn't
you
say
had no idea where she went.
no. But she cooked my dad's favorite meal of pork chops and left it on the stove.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what she did later in life too. She cooked pork chops and left it on the stove.
Well,
And I was supposed to serve it and do all this thing. And my
well, I would
dad
make
would
sure I
beat
would
me
make
up.
sure to say if what are we having for dinner tonight? If she says pork chops, I'd be very wary.
Yeah. Anyway, after that, I got up at 5 a.m. and cooked my dad bacon and eggs
Mm,
because construction starts really early. So
sure.
a couple mornings I didn't make it, and he'd be sure and tell me how hungry he was all day. He was good at guilt. He could have been an early Catholic, but we weren't. We were Lutheran. Catholics do guilt really well.
Okay.
So,
Well, you go from Ohio. What brought you out to Southern California
oh,
then? And how did you take some measure of
okay.
control in your life? Uh-huh.
My father always blamed my mother's parents for making her. She was bipolar,
hmm
little Lulu. So he thought if he can move to California, it'll be better anyway because he can work all year. In Ohio, he could only work, a few months. He couldn't work in the winter,
Right.
not in construction. So
Sure.
anyway, we got out here. He got custody of my brother and I because my mother was ruled an unfit mother by the state of Ohio.
Mhm.
I get to choose. Like, um, I wouldn't dare have my mother do anything. I didn't
Pretty easy
trust her at
choice.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we get out here to California. My brother He's 6, I'm 15. You can still see the drag marks leaving Ohio. I didn't want to go. I was in with a crowd, in the 9th grade. And we got here, Hotel Figueroa, downtown LA. And what you know, my mother met us. Oh my God, total betrayal on
Oh,
my dad's part. He was always so in love with her.
yeah.
It didn't matter. He'd always take her aside and try and help her. And his mother always tried to keep the family together. So he wanted to keep the family together.
Mm.
That was my downfall. I tried to keep the family together, and I stayed too long in a marriage to a person like my mother. So anyway, we met her, and I thought, well, I'm 15. I have to wait at least till I'm 18 to leave. I have no way to, support myself.
Mhm.
I was making 50 cents an hour to babysit. You know, that was my
Yeah.
big deal. Anyway, so we settled in Covina,
Mhm.
and we settled next door to a family from Chicago, Rose and John, and their nephew Don. And we were the only 2 teenagers in the whole, everybody was little kids, So I had a lot of babysitting.
Yeah.
And I bought my own clothes from 16 on. I didn't, even though I stayed at home.
Mhm.
But it was, my mother and father was an unhappy marriage. I never expected to be happy when I married. I married Don, of course,
Boy next door.
the boy next door.
Mm.
My father didn't like Rose and John. He never gave Don a fair shake. I mean, he's Rose and John's nephew, so
Oh, he
he,
must not
he
be any
must
good.
be, yeah, he must be outspoken and rude and all that, just like they are. So anyway, on my wedding day, my mother says, "Al, are you going to get your clothes on? Let's go. We're ready to go." And he met me at the door, and he shakes my hand and says, "Have a nice life, honey."
Your
Ah,
dad?
just broke my heart. Yeah.
Oh, man.
My brother, my 10-year-old brother, not walked me down the aisle.
Oh,
So
good.
I cried all the way there, and I
Yeah.
cried all the way back. Yeah, and I guess he came out after we drove off,
Hmm.
and they had a little reception in the garage. I
Did
don't
he
know.
ever say why?
That's all.
Did he ever give an explanation as to why he didn't go?
Oh, I'm sure we talked about it. Yeah, later in life we were talking. Now I'm an adult, and I were talking, and
Yeah.
I'm asking him. I'm trying to always figure out what the hell's going on. Why?
Right.
Why is so unhappy? Why go on like this? You know. And I'm going to church, and I was raised a Lutheran, but I went to Catholic catechism, and I'm a Catholic now. And I said, Dad, if Mom had 5 abortions between Allie and I, why didn't she abort me? He says, because I wouldn't give her the money.
Wow.
Really? He wouldn't give her the $50 in 1940, 1939 to abort me because
Well,
I knew you were mine.
aren't you glad he didn't?
Sometimes. Yes, I am.
Look, you look
I'm
like
here for a purpose now. I have to
you,
fulfill
you
my purpose.
you seem like the kind of person that wouldn't settle for just sitting still. Yet you come of age in the 50s. There surely must have been barriers for women back then to try to accomplish things. What was it like for you trying to overcome those obstacles? And what were they?
Well, I just accepted the way it was. I
Hmm.
didn't know there was barriers there. I just accepted it, you know. But when I went to work at my first job, LA Dimold in the South El Monte, 3 brothers from Chicago and their sister ran the office. I worked for Lillian. They raised me. They were absolutely marvelous.
Hmm.
Didn't matter how much I make, they'd say, come by and pat me on the head. Good girl, Pat. Good job, or whatever.
Yeah.
I just blossomed there. Meanwhile, I married Don, and I don't think we were unhappy. We were just so busy, both of us working, trying to make a rent payment,
Sure.
So it
Well,
wasn't until later that things disintegrated.
well, the stories are legend, of course, of people who started late in life. I always think of Colonel Sanders starting Kentucky Fried Chicken at 65. Now, you didn't start late in business, but you started late as an author. You didn't publish your first book until you were 82.
That's not quite right. I have kept a journal for 60 years.
Right, but was
I
it
couldn't
published?
remember. Our lives were so busy, I couldn't remember everything, so I'd write it down.
Yeah.
And that really helped me in my divorce. Oh my God, if I hadn't read through all the things, he said, "Oh, I'll be good. I won't chase around women anymore." And that's all. If I hadn't read it again and again and again
Mhm.
and think, what the hell are you doing, Pat? Taking him back, listening to him again.
Mhm.
But I will have a message for women.
Okay.
As I got away from Don, I got better. I got better. I got better. So I should have not gone for the divorce as so much as we should have separated. In 6 months, I could have gotten better,
Mhm.
I think.
Well,
So anyway,
for aspiring writers out there, how did your writing process lead you to publish two books? Because, I mean, publishing a book is a big deal. Um, and you have great advice to give people. And Lady, You've Got Balls in the first book, and then this one.
yeah,
I mean, what a great title. Uh, and
yeah,
it's still,
I
I
think
think it probably
so. And the
still,
editors gave me a hard time about that.
well, can you blame them? That was a good
No,
book. I mean,
not
good,
at
great
all.
title.
But I know
Oh,
that,
so,
I couldn't go to work. Don didn't want me to go to work. He didn't. He thought I'd meet somebody and leave him. I did leave him for 1 week. My cousin's husband died, and I went back to Ohio for 1 week to help her.
mhm.
And when I came home, he never trusted me again. I had abandoned him. He had a worse puppyhood than I did.
Did he
Um,
really? Huh.
yeah. So,
Well, what's the most important?
even as I separated from him and got divorced, I still loved him.
Yeah.
I finally came to the conclusion I could love him and leave him. I've done my mission with him. I need to move on.
Right. Right. What's the most important advice you can give to anyone who's come from challenging beginnings as you have and never think they're going to make anything of themselves?
I don't know. I went to two consultants, so, psychologists. And this is one thing I want to tell women. I walked in the first one. This is Dr. Parker. He was recommended by my gynecologist. So I go into him and he said, Emma, Don was there. He said, "Now, Pat, you can't withhold sex." I was saying, "What? I have never done that. My mother did that and it always led to bloodshed." He's never done that. And he looked at Don. He said, "Yeah, that's right." Well, what's the problem? I should have walked out right then. That damn guy, he was always putting women down, and I never realized it. Then I went to another gal, Vanessa. Oh, she was right on. She was so good.
What did she
Um,
say?
and she says, like, we'd go in a restaurant and he'd be flirting with the waitress,
Hmm.
and he'd accuse me of doing that. He accused me of doing, and she said, "He's not doing it. You're not doing it. He is." I'm going, "Really?" She opened my eyes.
Hmm.
She was so good. She called a spade a spade,
Now, is all of
Finally, I got the truth.
yeah, is all of this in your book?
Yeah, you can't make no, it's in my book. I
Right.
don't know if it made it to the other book. You can't make decisions if you don't know the truth.
Hmm.
You've got to search for the truth.
What do you hope readers get out of this book?
I hope they don't make the same mistakes I did and
Hmm.
stay too long in a disintegrating marriage that, I didn't want to kill myself. I knew I wouldn't do it then because I had my son, not do that to him. But darn it, I don't want anybody to suffer like that. You think, oh, green energy, the Pacific Ocean got bigger. No, it was my tears
Uh,
that did that.
well, I'll tell you what, folks, there's more timely and potentially life-changing advice in both Patricia's books. Her latest, Because I Knew You Were Mine, A Memory of Forgiveness, and it's available on Amazon. Patricia, thanks so much for joining us today. It was a delight talking with you. Have a
I do
great...
want to say one more thing.
Sure.
It took me 57 years to forgive my mother.
But you did forgive her.
I worked on it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't carry all that baggage. You got to let it go.
Yeah, because really you end up, the other person you're the one who suffers when you don't forgive.
Yeah.
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 Well, I'm glad you learned it, even though it took 57 years. Folks,
Thank
that's
you.
it for today. Thanks so much for spending a few minutes with us on Global Book Network. I'm Paul Ryden. We'll see you next time.